something unknown, unreached, inscrutable, sent down the messages of his bodiless light to Savitri. In its might of irresponsible sovereignty, it seized on speech to give the flaming shape, made beat the heart of wisdom in a word, and spoke immortal things through mortal lips. When Savitri is now speaking to the sages in the wood, they are astonished. What is Savitri telling us? We had done so much of tapasya for ages and ages. We had no knowledge, no understanding of what Savitri is telling us here. Immortal things through the mortal lips of Savitri, they are hearing for the first time. Or listening to the sages of the woods in question and answer, grow from her high, strange, revealing, impossible to men. Something or someone secret and remote took hold of her body for his mystic use. Her mouth was seized to channel ineffable truths. Knowledge unthinkable found its utterance to Savitri. Savitri has come back on earth after that nirvanic experience. The earth mother has drawn her back. Savitri, you cannot disappear. She's pulling her back. And now Savitri is seeing the whole world around. And when she's talking to the sages and the elderly people, they're astonished. What knowledge, what revelation. We have no idea at all of that. You see. Knowledge unthinkable found an utterance. Astonished by new enlightenment, invaded by stream of the Absolute, they marveled at her, for she seemed to know what they had only glimpsed at times afar. In her, the unseen, the unknown waited his hour. Savitri is now ready to strike. That hour is approaching. It was the hour before the gods awake. That hour is approaching. Awaken within, and the enormous night surrounded her with the unknowable vast. The world of unreality ceased to be. It was the same. Well, she passed beyond time into eternity, slipped out of space and became the infinite. Her being rose into unreachable heights and found no end of its journey in the self. She was all vastness and one measureless point. At once she is Brahat and point, Kendras. She was a height beyond heights, a depth beyond depths. She lived in the everlasting and was all that harbors depth and bears the wheeling hours. She lives now that harbors depth. An individual, one with the cosmic self, in the heart of the transcendence miracle and the secret of world personality, was the creator and the Lord of all. She sees now the presence of Lord of all everywhere. She was a single being, yet all things. The world was a spirit's wide circumference. She was no more herself, but all the world. Out of the infinitudes, all came to her. Infinity was her own natural home. Nowhere she dwelt. Her spirit was everywhere. That is the formless liberation. She doesn't need any place to stay. She was a subconscious life of tree and flower. See how everything is now in her. The dream white of the lotus in school, it is she now. The cosmos flowered in her. She was its bed. She was time and a dream of God in time. What the dream of God in time? That there should be the arrival of the divine event. She is now ready for that dream of time. She was his bed. She was time and the dream of God in time. She was space and the wideness of his days. From this she rose where time and space were not. The subconscious was her native air. Infinity was her movement's natural space. Eternity looked out from her on time. She has mastered time. She has to conquer death now. Conquer time and death. That was the command Savitri had received. Savitri has already achieved the conquest of time. She has already stepped beyond that. Now she is ready to wage a battle with death. Next day, Satyavani is going to die in the forest, and Savitri will be there on the spot to meet and greet death. And by vanquishing death, Savitri will win the victory in a certain sense. In a certain sense. But the greater miracle which Savitri will achieve is something different than conquest of death. Conquest of death is the real beginning of things to happen. Savitri sees death. Death, who is nothing but embodied nothingness. The void, the inconscient void, had taken a shape and presented itself as death to Savitri. Savitri has conquered that embodied nothingness. She has dissolved that nothingness. That void is now empty of death. Savitri has now cut a door into the void. Shunyasya dvaraha. Through the door of the void, not Suryasya. That is what the rishis did. Through the door of the sun, you would go into the immortal world. Savitri is not going into the immortal world, into the transcendental world by the Suryasya dvara, but through the Shunyasya dvara. By cutting the door into the void, she is entering into the everlasting day. The marvelous dawn begins with that. That is the most miraculous thing Savitri has done. Nowhere in the spiritual annals such a thing has been achieved, that you cut a door into the void and then meet the Supreme Himself. Behind this void, who is present after all? He Himself is there. Savitri sees the Virata Purusha. She sees the Hiranyagarbha. She sees Prajnanagana in its fourfold aspect and the ineffable. Savitri sees that. Savitri sees death now transformed into that Virata Purusha. Virata Purusha. He has taken another form. He has taken now the real form. Yama, in the tradition, is the son of Vivasvana. Vivasvana himself is one of the Aditya's son. And it is he who has stationed himself into the mortal world as Yama, Vaivasvata, that is what called Vaivasvata. Now that form of Vaivasvata is dissolved, and what you see is a true sublime, luminous, grand Vivasvana himself, the Virata Purusha. And it is he now, Savitri, is going to meet there, and it is he who is still going to allure Savitri. Savitri, you have won a wonderful victory. You have cut a door to the void, you have come into this sublime region, in the transcendental region. Stay here. Stay with your husband. Enjoy all that is there in these sublime realms, in this majestic realm. Stay here. Savitri says, I am sorry, I am not going to accept your offer. The Supreme Himself is making an offer to Savitri, And Savitri has the courage to say, I am sorry, I don't want your blessings of that kind. I reject it. I had no interest in that kind of a thing. She has her own independent will of her. The will of the Supreme is Savitri should come and stay there. In opposition to that, she exercises her will. No, my will is to go back to the earth. I want the soul of Satyavan not for myself to stay here. I want it for the soul of the earth. And it is that which is the real culmination of Savitri's yoga. Savitri's yoga does not end with the 7 cantos. Savitri's yoga continues into the transcendent. She gets the divine boon of Satyavan that they can go back to the earth and the new creation can begin there. In fact, in the wake of her coming down, then Krishna and Kali also come down here. That is the siddhi of Savitri's yoga. She has brought down not the soul of Satyavan, which is in a certain sense small matter for Savitri. What she has really brought down here is Krishna and Kali, the Anandamaya Purusha and his Brahmic Shakti, Devi Shakti, radiant power of the Supreme. It is Kali who has come down here. The dynamism of Kali, it is that which will work out whatever has to be worked out in the new creation. The new creation will be by her in the Ananda of the divine Purusha of Krishna. That is the real siddhi of Savitri's yoga.